We're back for episode 2, the Sports Business Chapter on the Silicon Slope Show. I am stoked to be joined today by Joe Summers. Joe is with OnBase. Rather than butcher the bio, Joe, introduce yourself to the group and tell us a little bit about OnBase.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Honored to be invited on with you. And yeah, OnBase has been around for quite a few years now. Wasn't always doing what we're doing now in the sports space, but we really focus on turning licensing, sponsorship, NIL opportunities into real growth channels for brands. It's been an awesome space to be in as the sports world has evolved since NIL has kind of shifted everything in the sports world to the forefront of news and the legal side of the world now too. So it's a great niche I found that I love being in.
Yeah, and it's slippery and it's growing every day, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
It changes as much as the direction of the wind, it seems like.
It's hard to keep up.
It is.
No, that's great. And I think part of this is want to focus on Utah-based companies, right? Talk about some of the exciting things we're doing. You personally, background, Utah State guy.
Yeah. From up north, we set up base camp and had to make our way down. Everybody, it's not as far as everybody thinks it is up to Cache Valley, but
No.
Born and raised up in that area. Yeah, went to Utah State, played football there. Love my Aggies. So
let's jump right in with OnBase. So you and I met at a sponsorship pitch meeting up at Minky, talking about RSL and Utah Royals. And so for OnBase, maybe a little case study with Minky, perfect example.
Yeah.
What's the involvement there, and where's OnBase coming in to provide that value?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give you a little bit of background about OnBase as a whole. I mean, myself, 2 other founders that started the company about 5 years ago. Okay. Originally we started, because myself, 2 other founders, we're all former college athletes, and our athletic departments athletic departments still are not great at keeping in touch with athlete alumni. They're never hesitant to ask you for more money or more donations, but trying to keep you involved in the program after you played there is less than ideal. And so we started trying to work with athletic departments to be able to help them better engage with athlete alumni, increase donation opportunities. And right about that time that we started working with a few athletic departments, the Alston versus NCAA case happened. Mm-hmm. NIL basically got turned on overnight, where the government said, hey, you can't keep these athletes from making money on their name, image, and likeness. And so right about that same time, there's so many athletic directors coming to us and saying, hey, can you help connect us with companies and brands that would want to work with our athletes. And having connections that we do, we started going to brands and saying, hey, do you want to work with so-and-so quarterback at, this school, or point guard at this school? Surprising enough to us, there was not a ton of interest in being able to work with individual athletes, but it was more so as with the teams and the schools as a whole, from a sponsorship and especially a licensing standpoint.
Right.
So we're like, well, okay, why don't you do that? And they're like, well, it's really hard. And we're like, okay, well, how hard, famous last words, how hard could it be? And so we kind of started jumping in and learning more about the back end side of that side of the sports business world of licensing and sponsorships. And it turns out it is not easy. Yeah. It is, some of it seems very archaic in how they operate and the systems and processes they use. And so we did a big shift of, instead of trying to help athletic departments, let's help these brands work with these athletic departments and athletes. And that's really kind of where we put some gas on the fire for what we're doing, and it's taken off. Minky Couture was one of those companies that had tried to dip their toe into licensing, 4 years ago. Most companies that find licensing or trying to do it, they end up having a lot of people wearing hats within an organization that should not be wearing certain hats. You have a CFO doing royalty reports. You have, a COO trying to submit new designs for approvals, right, things like that. And it's just not sustainable. And so that's really where we can, come in and operate within an organization like a Minky Couture, be a remote licensing team for those types of companies.
Really help them streamline. So excuse me if I'm being naive, but like if I'm talking to an LSU and I'm talking to South Carolina and I'm talking to Utah, those are 3 different conversations based on how they may be set up?
Very much so. And even outside of, just the individual institutions, and this is just from a college perspective.
Yeah.
Some institutions can even use different management systems. So you look at somebody like a University of Utah, they use a different system than a USC. They use a different system than an Ohio State. They use a different system than a Mississippi State.
Sure.
All of these different schools, depending on which institution you're trying to work with, you're trying to get licensed with, all have a different system that they use that you have to learn how to operate, integrate, and there's so many roadblocks and pitfalls.
Right.
Kills an ROI for a company. And so that's really where we can like help you avoid those roadblocks, pitfalls, actually help you see a return on what you're trying to do in the sports licensing world.
Yeah. So on that note, I think sports business, obviously a very personal industry built on relationships, but there's a lot of, tech involved. You see on the back end, a lot of things in terms of your CRMs and your sponsorship tracking mechanisms all the way through your ticketing things. From an OnBase perspective, working with partners, that have dabbled in the college sports area and now in the pro sports area that you've worked with, what are some of the back end tools that help make your life easier that you're using?
Yeah, well, there haven't been a whole lot. We've actually had to build them ourselves.
Yeah, there you go.
When you start looking at the programs that are out there, schools will use third-party systems. Like there's the Collegiate Licensing Company. There's systems like Octane 5 that companies like Fanatics or Brand Comply will use. There's schools that operate independently that use PDFs and Excel files. If you can believe it, it's 2026 and we're still using PDFs and Excel files for major license and sponsorship opportunities at institutions you wouldn't think should be doing that. And so we've built a lot of our own systems and processes on the back end to actually help automate and streamline a lot of those processes. And for myself personally, where I see this area of sports business going, you look at what happened with the University of Utah taking private equity investments. They're going to look at all areas of a profit and loss statement. They're going to treat it like a business, and they're going to look at licensing specifically, and they're going to see why are we giving up so much of a percentage of our potential royalty revenue to a system that is so outdated and archaic, and it could be automated. We could do it in house. We could make so much more money, save on opportunities. And that's really where we see an opportunity with what we're building.
So the reality versus the headlines, the average fan's like, oh, college sports is such a mess. Oh my gosh, right? Like it's, players moving left and right.
Right.
Maybe we'll steer off here for a second, but like opinion based on like, is it cool for like Sam Levitt to be able to play 3 different places in 4 years? Like, I don't know. Like it's a little odd.
I speaking as a former college athlete,
put you on the spot.
I am all for player autonomy.
Right.
to be able to give players the opportunity to profit off their name, image, and likeness, to be able to give them mobility, to be able to give them opportunities.
Yeah, I'm
all for it. I don't think the structure that they've been given and the guardrails that are there were meant for this, frankly.
Right.
For what the NIL world has become. I think there needs to be some major overhauls as far as like the guardrails and systems that are in place for NIL. Personally, I think the genie's out of the bottle. We're not going to get that back in with NIL. I think the antitrust lawsuits would come down swiftly if anything tried to be taken back there. But I think there's some major systems. We need to quit looking at college athletics and college athletes as amateurs at this point. They're professionals. Let's treat it like a professional league. Let's actually, get a commissioner in place for, college sports. You can have a commissioner for each sport if you'd want it, but there needs to be actually someone in charge. And I think, kind of going back to the private equity conversation with the University of Utah, I think you're going to see more of that. And I think you're actually going to start to see more light shown on, different areas that just don't make sense when you're trying to fit the square peg of amateurism fit in the round hole of professional sports, which is basically what it is now.
Right. Long gone are the days of paying my alumni association dues, get my sticker, and feeling really great about supporting sports.
Yeah. And I think, when you look at it from a donor standpoint for a long time, it used to just be able to get in pay for an endowment chair or pay for, this facility or things like that.
Yeah.
You look at somebody like a Mark Cuban who's donating to the University of Indiana now, and the schools that are looking at their athletic departments, as what they are, of the front door, basically the front yard of your entire institution. Deion Sanders had that effect at Colorado. It's happening now at Indiana when you start to see, man, when we have a really a performing high profile athletic department or certain teams, enrollments, applications, money opportunities, viewership, all those things go up, and it really helps drive more revenue to the school as a whole.
Yeah, interesting. I've kind of wondered about that. Obviously, the money goes in towards athletics, but what about the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should the schools be getting for, I guess, they kind of are intangible, but listen, should some of this be going to like salvage the music program or like, upliftment? Because it is a business too,
It is
right?
a business,
And some of these colleges get in trouble for not balancing their books.
Well, and I think when you look at what has been going on for the years before NIL was ever in place, there was only a handful of athletic departments that operated in the black anyway. Most of them were operating in the red because they were funding unprofitable sports.
Sure.
Not that those sports are any less important or any less meanful or that they don't matter. But I think the more you can actually start to put money in that drives real trackable ROI, because I think you were getting that to that point with a lot of donors. They're just fatigued with, man, I give this much to an athlete to try to come to my school, but then they're in the transfer portal 4 days later. I think there's going to be more guardrails that are put in place for that. That's going to help.
Utah's kind of having a moment. We've got the Real Salt Lake Drew Messi, right? So coming to town in April, pretty excited about that. We're about to be a 2-time Olympic market. There's a lot going on out here. What's sort of like for you? What are you most excited about in this next year, 2, 5?
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to get the Oakland Athletics, or hopefully the Salt Lake Athletics. I think there's going to be an opportunity for Major League Baseball in Utah at some point.
Yeah,
NFL may be a ways away. I don't know. We'll see. The sports world in Utah is great. You look at what the Jazz have done with the investments that they've taken and new ownership. You look at what the Millers have done with all the sports and opportunities that are going on with, soccer, baseball. The college sports world is taking off like crazy. You look at how well, BYU, Utah, those schools, Utah State's, shout out for my alma mater.
Hey.
Hopefully we're going to get there as well. But they're so nationally relevant with everything that's going on in the colleges here as well. And I think when you look at what the tech opportunities are in Utah with Silicon Slopes so close by, I think there's going to be some major opportunities for Utah to be at the forefront of a lot of developments that happen in the sports world that can ripple throughout the country and throughout the world, honestly.
So you've dabbled a little bit with pro, obviously heavy in the NIL space from the OnBase perspective. If I'm a brand, maybe a marketing manager listening in, a Silicon Slopes member, how do I get involved?
Yeah, if you're a brand that's ever thought of trying to use licensing, trying to use maybe sponsorships or NIL as a growth channel for your brand, but don't know where to start, don't know how to track any ROI on that, don't even know if it's possible. We're here to tell you that it is. That's really where the space we live, and it can help you so much tap into demographics and markets that you would never be able to get into beforehand. You start looking at a potential fan base that maybe has no idea who you are as a brand, but you want to be able to tap into that market. You can have that reach because of a certain license or a certain partnership you can have, that they can become a fan of your brand because of that. That's
awesome. So for OnBase 2026, anything you're really excited about? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, we're working on a lot. We're picking up new clients left and right, which is exciting.
Great.
Bringing on new brands that want to get into the licensing space, find sponsorship and NIL opportunities as well. The tech side of what we're building is continually evolving, which is awesome. I think on the what we can try to do with the systems and automation, IP management is going to be really exciting for us.
What are some lessons learned?
Oh man, a lot of what not to do. I think what makes us so good at what we do in the licensing space is, and for the first few years, we learned a lot of we're able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls and mistakes that cost brands opportunities and burns bridges in this space because we made those mistakes.
Yeah.
I'd say that's really really what we've learned is here's what not to do. So now we can focus on what actually works and actually to do it.
You mentioned Major League Baseball, obviously with the Millers and Big League Utah. Sort of, I feel like we're in a good space. We're 4 or 5 years out from it, but hey, go Salt Lake.
Yeah, right.
I can't help we're totally off topic. but I feel like we got to call it Salt Lake Baseball Club.
Salt Lake Baseball Club.
Just to start so we can market it twice.
I
mean, hey, it's done, right?
I've always, this is a hot take for me, but I've always been a big proponent that we should change the name of the Jazz. There's nothing relevant for the Jazz here in Utah.
You're right.
I mean, when they came from New Orleans, that made sense. But I think there's a lot better names out there that we can do. That are actually Utah based. And I hope whenever we get that MLB team, I hope we pick a good one.
So for OnBase, going back to when you started it, you spent some time in the athletic department at Utah State.
Correct.
Did you say some of that experience kind of triggered the start of OnBase, and you saw a need for it?
I would say the opposite. I'd say like my experience, operating in like licensing and NIL, helped me to be able to kind of go in and help Utah State for the short time I did.
Yeah.
I came into that from a very different perspective from other people that were within the athletic department, where I'm coming at it from somebody who's going to be trying to donate to an athlete or trying to work with an athlete or hire that athlete. I came from the brand perspective, where ROI and investment is at the peak of what they care about. From the athletic department side, it's ensuring compliance, making sure everything stays right, with the CSC and anybody else that has to be involved to make sure everything is compliant and legal. So I mean, I feel like they gave me a pretty unique perspective now to come at it from that side, where the brand side, but now to be able to have been on the inside and see that side of it as well. It was a really unique opportunity for me.
You feel like the co-branded opportunities, like using licensing engine, if you will, feel like that's sort of the main driver behind a lot of these relationships?
I personally say yes. Because, this is another personal opinion, hot take on my part. Athletes are not influencers.
Fair.
You look at what an influencer means. You're influencing buying decisions.
Right.
Most athletes are not going to do that when they work with a brand. What is actually going to be more relevant to a fan base is their team. The tribalism is real. They're a fan of that team. Athletes are only relevant for those schools for a handful of months out of a year, and maybe a couple years at most.
Yep.
Then they're on to their next thing. They're going to onto their professional lives or professional careers. That license and those schools are going to be there for long past those athletes. And I think when you're looking at that as a brand, and how can we use licensing, leverage that with NIL to be able to reach more fans.
Fair enough. And you can see through it when somebody's repping a product, like
product market fit's not real.
Right?
Yeah,
it's not there.
Yeah, and I think the borrowed relevance is can be people know when you're not authentic, and the product market fit's got to be there. And you see NIL operating in 2022 where it's like, hey, I'll just pay this athlete to give a couple social posts.
Right.
We've seen it now. It doesn't move the needle. Where you're seeing more actual legitimate NIL opportunities is when a brand is creating more of an experience. They're bringing athletes in to be more collaborative in some type of products or launches or events.
Sense of ownership.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Well, that makes sense. I often feel like sometimes the personal endorsements are a little dangerous.
You're right.
Now you're dealing with college kids.
Right.
That's just maybe a quick lack of judgment, and you're doing some damage control versus just sponsoring the school or the team or the brand, what I'm saying in general.
Right.
It's a little dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, these are still 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Right.
and you look at, in the headlines, it's really easy to get clicks with, hey, an athlete has a $4 million contract. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's attention grabbing, but at the end of the day, you're still saying to this 18, 19-year-old kid, like, here's $4 million.
Yeah.
Don't be dumb. I don't know about you, but when I was 18 and 19 years old, somebody gave me $4 million. I don't know how smart I would have been, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was an absolute idiot at that age for sure. I guess for, kind of stay on topic with OnBase, what do you see, like maybe a prediction or I don't know, what sort of a dream client for you? Let's put you on the spot a little bit.
Oh man, for us, I mean, we're really no respecter of clients. Well, anybody that's trying to get into this licensing space, we're always happy to have those conversations. I will say that the ideal clients for us are those that really kind of understand where they want to go and the goals they want to have with these kind of partnerships. We've seen a lot of clients come to us where they're just trying to borrow relevancy. These licenses and these sponsorships and these athletes, they can draw a lot of eyeballs to you, but if your brand itself is not capable of, if you don't have a great product and a great brand or something that people can actually want to be a part of, Minky Couture is a perfect example of that. They've been around for a long time, have great products, something that people, can really latch onto as a brand and a following. If you're trying to borrow relevancy as like, another t-shirt company or something like that, nothing wrong with starting a t-shirt company, but if you're just saying, man, I just need to have the BYU logo to sell t-shirts, that's not going to bode well. You need to be able to have a reason for somebody to want to engage with your brand and your products outside of just that license. Any companies in that kind of space are, we'd love working with.
That's awesome. And I can tell just from Minky, and they're obviously a huge supporter of Silicon Slopes, but I mean, what a massive undertaking to dive into collegiate licensing in all of those different schools. I can only imagine how thorny that is. So if you're behind the curtains helping them steer it, great work.
Yeah. And Minky is an amazing company, great people, the best. What they've done in such a short amount of time is a credit to their team, their brand, and everything that they can do. With the licenses they've gotten, where they're actually going to go in the future with more opportunities like that is going to be next level.
I love it. Well, we can kind of wrap it up. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
This has been great.
Weird if we need to. What are we going to do?
No, I think this has been great. I appreciate it. I could talk sports in this space forever. So
right. Well, I'm glad you came on, Joe. So Joe Summers, again, thanks for coming on OnBase. You can find them. It's with onbase.com.
Correct.
And just go sniff out Joe on LinkedIn. You'll find him. But that's it. Appreciate you.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.